Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Nur Fikri bin Johar. I would like to present about Egypt in current, especially. Okay, this is a table of content. For my part, firstly, I would like to talk about the current politic situation. Then, secondly, is economy. Then, the women's right. Number four is the index of happiness, literacy, democracy, and corruption. And lastly, the condition of secularism, liberalism, and human rights. Okay, this is the topic of politics in Egypt. Okay, firstly, in my research, uh, um, Egypt was known as semi-republic presidential countries. In 2011, Egypt revolution was sparked due to the protests from the people because of the dictator President Hosni Mubarak. Hosni Mubarak was being the president for about 31 years old. At that time, the Egyptian government was led by a former military officer. After the overthrow of Hosni Mubarak, there were elections for the new democracy. President were being chosen by the people of Egypt in 2012. Muhammad Morsi has been elected by the general election as the next president of Egypt. However, the democracy-based government officially fallen on 3rd July 2013. So you can see that the democracy president was just administration was about 1 year. Okay, Morsi government has been overthrown by the Egyptian army after the opposition group has caused riot, and there has been a clash between these two groups. The army began to intervene. The situation in several cities in Egypt was looked like battlefield as the people of Egypt protest against the military seizing powers and violating the people's right of choose their leader. It's against Egypt was being taken down by army, and this is among the factors of why Morsi was overthrown. Okay, first of all, he was from the Ikhwanul Muslimin, as known as the Muslim Brotherhood. Secondly, he not the proxy of United States of America. Thirdly, he opened the borders gate for Palestine people to get help. Okay, then fourth, pressure from the opposition. On the 4th July 2013, the Chief Justice of Supreme Constitutional Court of Egypt, Adli Mansour, was elected as the acting president after the removal of Morsi. The new government cracked down on the Muslim Brotherhood, and its support jailed thousands and forcefully dispersing pro-Morsi and pro-Brotherhood protests. Many of the Muslim Brotherhood's leaders and activists have either been sentenced to death or life imprisonment in a series of mass trial. Okay, sorry for that. Okay, this is the video. So let's okay, so you can see the video after this if you have your time. Okay, this is I would like to go through the political situation during Al-Sisi, which means the new President of Egypt. Okay, Al-Sisi was elected in 23rd March 2014. The Egyptian Defense Minister made an announcement as the candidate in the presidential election. The poll was held with boycott by Muslim Brotherhood and several liberal and secular activist groups. In 2016, again, Egypt entered the political crisis with Italy because of the murder case of researcher from Italy named Giulio Regeni. Italy Prime Minister during that time recalled the Italian ambassador from the Cairo as lack of cooperation from the Egypt government in the investigation. However, in 2017, the Italy ambassador was sent back to Egypt by the new Prime Minister Paolo Gentiloni. Okay, next I would like to talk about Egypt economy. Okay, Egypt economy was based on petroleum, natural gas, tourism, and agriculture. Okay, this is the pictures about the economy. Okay. Okay, next, the currency for this country was pound. So I just figure out the current Egypt currency in a few days. Okay, 15.8 Egyptian pound equals to 1 USD. Okay, Egypt gross domestic product is nominally USD 302.256 billion estimated for 2019. So then USD 1.427 trillion according to purchasing power parity estimate in 2020. Next, known as the world's largest producer of dates according to one economist website, and Egypt also become the second largest producer of fixed fruit in global, which means if you want to know what is fixed is tin in Arabic. Next is Egypt was produced cotton as a source of national economy, but does not make it as a major export. Okay, next I would like to talk about the fight for women's rights. Okay, first point is about the gender-based rules. Egypt still relies on gender-based rules as they still using the traditional gender-based rules. As for that, lots of women in Egypt typically still doing the house chores as cooking, caring for the children. According to the 2020 Global Gender Gap Index, which ranked countries based on the severity of inequality in the world, Egypt was ranked in 134 out of 153 countries. This is a very low percentage of a country that can be seen to be developed. Next is education. Inequality within education system in Egypt was decreased substantially. However, even highly educated Egyptian women still struggle to find employment due to how expensive child care is and the likelihood of sexual harassment in and outside the working environment. The Global Economy in 2019 reported that the labor force participation rate for female in Egypt was 21.9 93%, while for the men, the labor force participation was about 70.86%. Next, we would like to talk about the literacy. Although gender discrimination is still present in Egypt, literacy disparities have been diminished over the last 2 decades. According to World Bank report in 2007, the literacy rate for female was 65.5%, while it was 43.6% in 1996. Within those decades, Egyptian women's literary rate increased by nearly 22%, and if it continues to elevate, it will promote their economic growth in society. Next, marriage. This is very proud thing, especially in the Middle East. Child marriage is illegal. In Egypt, legal adult started at age 18 years old. Women's rights in Egypt made significant progress in 2001 when child marriage became illegal, giving young girls a better future. Moreover, they now have more equal opportunities in life at a young age. As a result of this law, adolescent pregnancy rates also decreased. Part was the Index of Literacy, Democracy, Happiness and Corruption in Egypt. Basically, Index of Literacy in Egypt in one website said that Egypt was placed in number 11 in the Middle East countries. In average, about 28% of the people of Egypt in Egypt having the literacy problem. In context of democracy index, in 2019, Egypt was placed at the 137th world ranking. This is quite serious because in 2018, Egypt managed to put their place in 127th in the world in the process of democracy in their rules. Next, Index of Corruption. In 2019, Egypt has been ranked in 106 out of 180 countries according to Transparency International, known as the Global Coalition Against the Corruption. According to them, Egypt was gaining 35 out of 100 score for the corruption indicator. Next, Index of Happiness. We can see that the chart in 2003 and 2013 to 2020, the Index of Happiness was rise up and then decline again. This is because of several issues such as government itself, the fights between opposition and the government and others aspect. Next is the condition of secularism, liberalism and human rights. Secularism in Egypt. Okay. Secularism in Egypt was started during the British occupation. In this environment, pro-secularist intellectuals like Yaqub Saruf, Faris Nirm, Nicola Haddad, who sought political asylum for Ottoman rule, were able to publish their work. The debate has then become a burning issue with the work of Egyptian Sheikh Ali Abdel Razik in 1888 to 1966. By 1919, Egypt had its first political secular entity called the Hizb Al-Mani Secular Party. This name was later changed to the Fourth Party. The government of Gamal Abdel Nasser was secularist nationalist in nature, which at the time gathered a great deal of support both in Egypt and other Arabic states. Next, key element of Nasserism. First is nationalist dictatorship. Secondly is their modernization. Third is industrialization. Fourth is concentration of Arab value rather than Muslim value. This is the fourth one. What I would like to share is about Egypt. People, Egyptian, have the sentiment that they are not Muslim people, but they are called as Egyptian because of they highlighted that Egypt was previously a huge empire, the previous empire that has already governed this world. Okay, next. Following the death of Nasser, President Anwar Sadat 1917 to 1981 continued economic liberalization and maintained the government's secularist policy, even going as far as signing peaceful agreement with Israel, which was first of for any Middle East country. However, following further intensive clampdowns of political opposition, Sadat was assassinated and replaced by Hosni Mubarak, who again faced the issue of keeping the Islamist support at bay with keeping his power base during increased pressure to the democratic. In 2011, Egypt revolution marked as the changing of dictator to democratic. Mubarak was ousted and the following years, Mohamed Morsi, who is backed by the Muslim Brotherhood, won Egyptian first democratic election. In 2013, Morsi was being overthrown as democratic president by Al-Sisi. According to Economist Press, Egypt was again turning secular again with the support of Sharia law. Then, this is the point for liberalism in Egypt. According to CNN, after the Egypt revolution, the Egypt government, Egypt country was totally changing from liberalism to Islamic style of after Morsi take over the administration. He is from the Muslim Brotherhood, managed to eliminate liberalism from the government. However, this is not last longer after the Islamic government was being overthrown by the opposition and the Muslim enemies. The conspiration of this abolishment of Morsi was conducted by the anti-Islamic movement and aided by the United States. If I'm not mistaken, this article was being published by several uh, countries about this conspiracy. Okay, the last part for this presentation is about the human rights in Egypt. Rights of the LGBT. The authorities continued to arrest and prosecute LGBTI in individuals on the basis of their real or preserved sexual orientation or gender identity, often subjecting them to forced anal and sex determination tests, a practice that amount to torture. In January, a court sentences Muhammad Al-Giti, a TV presenter who had publicly expressed homophobic view, to 1 year's imprisonment and a fine of interviewing a gay man on TV. The sentence served to intimidate people from publicly discussing LGBT issues. Next, freedom of religion and belief. The authorities of Egypt continue to restrict in law and practice the rights of Christians to worship. Christians' rights to build and repair church remain restricted under a 2016 law required approval from the state bodies, including security agencies. According to the Egyptian Initiative for Personal Rights, such bodies granted full legal registration to less than 200 church out of a total of 5,540 that had made application, while only 1,412 of their illegal state of church received preliminary conditional approval. Security forces closed at least 25 churches on the ground of their illegal status or on the pretext of avoiding sectarian tension. In April, security forces closed Naga Al-Ghafir Church in Sahok and prohibited collective worship in it. On 23 November, Coptic Christian activist Remy Kamel was arbitrarily arrested a day before his participation in a session of the UN Forum on Minority Issues in Geneva, Switzerland. He was detained on terrorism-related charges for speaking out about the right of religious minority in Egypt for his previous engagement with the UN Special Rapporteurs on adequate housing during her visit to Egypt in 2018. Next is immigrant, refugees and asylum seekers. The authority continued to arbitrarily arrest and detain migrant, refugees and asylum seekers. Between July and September, security force detained at least 23 Syrian, including 13 children in police station in the southern city of Edfu for irregularly crossing the Sudanese-Egyptian borders. All remain detained at the end of the year. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you. I'm sorry for the inconvenience. Hope you enjoy. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.